Hey, welcome, my friends. Here we are. Namaste. It is the 13th of January 2021. It's chat with Matt. We've got half an hour or thereabouts. These are normally going 40 minutes. Let's just be open and honest right there. Intention is around about 30 minutes. That was my intention when we started. To shoot the breeze, talk about whatever's going on. I know there were some questions written in because I did actually scan through them about half an hour ago when I first looked at my Facebook, and I've just got to find them, and then we will talk to those, and I'm happy to talk to anything else that may arise as that continues, right? You can always just type in. Hopefully I'll see it here on my screen. If it seems like I haven't, then try again, type something in again, because I miss things. It's just the nature of it, and I'm not ignoring people. I will always answer to some degree. Even if I can't answer your question, I will still acknowledge that there's a question that I'm not confident or not desiring to answer. I don't think I've ever had a question that I'm not desiring to answer. I think I've had a few questions where I've said, I don't think I can answer that, because I'm not one here to bullshit an answer if I don't have it. Right, I'm just trying to get this to work. Here we go. Get into Bright Light Beings. There I am live. That's great. Chat with Matt on in 10 hours. Everyone likes that photo for some reason. It's just a screenshot off one of the other chat with Matts from probably over a year ago. I wheel it out every now and again. Joe. Just that picture is a source of light within itself. I never can think of a question, maybe this. I would like to connect with beings of light during sleep, yet every night just seem to have these ridiculous dreams, almost where I'm running around my old office building or taking the kids to school or doing some other such random thing. Would beings of light connect with me in these dreams? And if so, what would I look for? Thank you. Okay, so I guess the first question is, hey, Sister Jane, and everyone else is watching. I see there's about 6 people on there, but I haven't seen names scroll through, so I can't talk to you individually. But anyway, this is pretty common. People always seem to want to have more of an experience with their light tribe, whatever you want to call it, their helpers, their team, beings of light in general, because egoically it would make us feel that we're actually succeeding as a being of light here on this planet if we had some more input, more obvious input from non-physical beings. I don't have a lot of contact, like I don't see non-physical beings in my dreams or that. For me, what I've found is my intuitive knowing is very, very subtle. You know, I don't have obvious connection with visions or dreams or voices in my head. I don't get any of that. So, but I still recognize that a lot of people want that. They want it to be more obvious to them to basically overcome their egoic doubts, right? And to feel more comfortable and to get the guidance that they think will save them. I know I know some people who are very, very clairvoyant or clairaudient. They have great connection with spirit, and yet their life is still a mess, right? And I'm not saying that to ridicule them, but what I wanted you to recognize is having connection with spirit in an obvious way is not a foolproof recipe for an easy, successful life. It just isn't. Because I've seen it multiple times, where people who have very strong connections just get very, very confused in those connections, or can't cope with those connections. So anyway, let's talk a little bit about the dream thing, because a lot of us are having dreams like this, me included. I'm having a lot of these dreams, which I would call clearing dreams. Hey, Sister Sylvie. So basically, in our sleep, when our conscious mind is less active, our subconscious mind has the opportunity to clear out images and what we would call waves, impressions, and feelings, energies, basically clearing out energies that have exactly, Sylvie. Every spirit has a different point of view. So when you start becoming more of a medium, you start having to work out what spirit view is more important. Just like what different, because people think that for some reason there's some absolute truth and there's some absolute way it should be, and everyone who's in spirit or every being in spirit knows that. It's just not the case, right? This world is a mystery, you know. As I was laughing with the guy at the service station the other day, he said the best thing about life is no one knows what tomorrow will bring. And the worst thing about life is no one knows what tomorrow will bring. Right? It's a double-edged sword. It's a double-edged sword. But the point is, there's no right answer. And spirit doesn't know it. Spirit being any number of beings who are disembodied. So anyway, but just come back to the rightness of these dreams, that seem very mundane or very usually frustrating or annoying or even, you know, some sort of emotional expression coming through while in dream state. Would beings of light connect with me in those dreams? Yeah, of course. Beings of light could connect through those dreams, but why? Because basically you're going through a process of releasing the energies that don't serve you. What you are feeling is what you are releasing in your dreams, especially so. So just basically appreciate your dreams for what they are, a clearing experience, a clearing process, and don't get too caught up in looking for more. You know, it's valid to have an intent that you're connecting more and more with spirit. But where it falls down is when you want that connection with spirit to be a certain way. Any desire or I would like it to be a certain way, more obvious, more this, more that, is always going to create a contraction and a stress and a comparison against whether you are meeting your expectations or not. As soon as you want something to happen, you feel disappointed that it doesn't. So hold an intention that you are moving into greater connection with spirit, your team, your guidance, and then allow that to evolve as it can and as it will naturally, rather than expecting it to be a certain way, expecting you to have visions in your dream state that are clearly spirit talking to you. I know some people have that, and some people, you know, love to share what's come to them in spirit, and we quite often get FOMO or you know, green envy around the fact that these people are having these amazing guidance dreams. And we're not. But at the end of the day, we're not here to meet any criteria like that. We're here to be an expansive expression of ourselves based on how we are in this moment right now. And that's all that really matters. Sister Sylvie, I missed what you wrote. I'm going to read it down here so I don't mess up my screen. I'm going to get back to the next questions. Once Archangel Michael was empowering to be stronger and stronger with clearing entities, and I was attacked by more and more dark things, and Master Jesus told me, if you want to be clear, just embody peace. Yeah. Well, that's right. Exactly. So Archangel Michael was basically delivering, in that case, Sylvie, Archangel Michael was delivering you what you wanted, right? Because you had a desire to fight entities at that stage. And then Master Jesus said, you know, gave you an important lesson in what do you really want? What do you really want? Because you'd been indoctrinated with the belief that to be clear of entities, you needed to fight them off. And thus, you know, you had a desire to learn how to fight them off. If you have a desire for something, then some spiritual being will fulfill your desire. So Archangel Michael, being the very benevolent being that he is, comes in and gives you the information that you desire. But then you realize that that's not actually helping you. They're not here to always just cut to the chase. They're here to give you the lessons that's going to help you evolve. Because if Archangel Michael turned up and said, hey, you don't need to fight them, just choose peace, would you have been satisfied the first time if you did not have that history of trying to fight them, finding that they actually fight back quite well, and that you get yourself entrapped in that, and then Master Jesus can deliver you the information that really sinks in because you have a strong foundation in experience, real experience, your experience, to put that into context and to believe it more strongly. So the point is, Spirit doesn't try and circumvent our suffering for the sake of it, right? Spirit gives us what we need to grow, not what we want. They don't just give us a free pass to an easy life, because that's not what we came here for. We didn't come here for a free path to an easy life. We didn't come here for an easy life. We came here to learn who we are and to expand as an aspect, a spark of the divine, right? So that's it, So there's no rights and wrongs. It's not that Archangel Michael was wrong and Master Jesus was right. They're both working together to help you evolve. At the end of the day, spirit is only interested in your evolution, not in your peace, not in your comfort, not in your success, not in you getting your desires. Spirit doesn't give two rats about you getting your desires filled. Really. Because they understand they're working at a much higher level than our little ego. They're just working at a much higher level than our little ego. Anyway, so hopefully that helps, Joe. Luna, love that picture of you. Awesome, agree that picture. So, yeah, thank you, Jill. Ellie, this is a great question because I get this quite a bit, and this is quite common out there in the world. How can I locate my traumas that I hide very deep? So deep that it never comes up and looks like I have no trauma at all because nothing is triggering it. Example, I have a big trauma from not connecting, working to nature beings. I love being in nature, but I'm not much in nature, so I don't feel that pain. I know I want to be in nature, but I'm not doing it. This is now visible for me, but I can have other big traumas I have hidden away very deep. I hope this makes sense, as English is not my usual language to express. Love what you're doing, Matt. I love your energy. Okay, Ellie, so first and foremost, we are not here just to uncover our traumas for the sake of it. Our process on earth is not one of clearing ourselves from trauma, because that's what we're quote unquote supposed to do. Hey, Sister Christina. So it's important to recognize that it's not a quest to uncover our trauma so that we can clear it, so that we can be free of trauma, and then we can be happy. What you will find is if a trauma is not presenting, it's not ready to deal with, and you don't need to go digging for it. Please don't go digging for your traumas, because if you bring up a trauma that's not ready to come up because you went digging for it, you are unlikely to have the foundation to be actually able to work through it. So the way that I like to work with people and with myself is to keep striving for my ultimate outcome, to keep striving for my empowered freedom, to keep striving for my authentic confidence in myself, to keep pushing myself or inviting myself into greater and greater purpose that's aligned with who I be in the moment. And that's all that matters, because it's in the moment. As soon as I say purpose, people start looking for this thing that they can chisel into the rock. This is my purpose forever, and no purpose is forever. Our purpose is just to express ourselves purposefully. So as I'm choosing to be purposeful in the moments, then that will naturally always trigger any trauma or any resistance or any limitation that is pertinent to that intention. So rather than go looking for traumas to clear traumas for the sake of it, go looking for intent to step into so that you basically move forward. What will happen is as you choose to move forward, naturally anything that resists that is hidden in your field somewhere, no matter how deeply, will start to percolate to the surface. So put the horse before the cart, Sister Ellie, and work with your desire. So if you have a desire to be in nature and yet you have some block around that, just take honest, intentional steps to get out in nature. Start to prioritize spending time in nature, and you will see that you'll have resistance to doing it. Things will come up that says, oh, I don't have time to be in nature. This isn't right for me to be in nature. I need to do this first before I can be in nature, or whatever, right? Stuff will come up to resist you going into nature. So that's great. That is uncovering your resistance or the traumas that are in your field that prevent this, right? Fears or resistances or whatever it is. But your job is to recognize it for what it is. Oh, this is just resistance left over from past traumas, and to step past it compassionately as you can into doing what lights your heart up. So that's the example with the nature, but just do that with everything. So if you have a desire to be more creative with paint, for example, then just do it. And if there's any trauma or residual or resistance to being more artistic, then that will arise naturally. But you don't need to go looking for, oh, I wonder what I should do next to unveil my trauma. If a trauma is not worrying you, don't worry about it, right? If it ain't broken, don't fix it. You don't get a gold badge when you get rid of all of your trauma, because I don't know if we ever do get rid of all of our trauma as a being on earth. We have many, many thousands of years worth of trauma stored up. All that we need to do is get very effective in stepping past our trauma moment to moment as it arises, so that trauma no longer creates a great discomfort for us. It no longer creates suffering. It no longer overly limits us. It always limits us to some degree, but we just get very much better at the process. There's a lot of comments scrolling through. I will scroll back up here on my screen and read them up here. Ellie wrote in, thank you for your answer. I only release trauma when it comes up, and I thought I was being lazy. No, you're not being lazy at all. You definitely don't need to go looking for trauma. Just release it when it comes up. Your job, where you don't want to be lazy, Ellie, is in striving to be the most expansive expression of yourself. Listening to your heart, and then being willing to take steps towards what your heart is desiring, even though your mind is going, I don't know if it's safe to do that. I don't know if I'm capable of doing that. I don't know if it's appropriate for me to do that. I don't know if I'm clear enough to do that, right? All of these doubts and resistances will come up in the mind when you allow your heart to expand into the potential and the possibilities for you to take action. So your job is to be dedicated enough to your heart, honor your heart enough to try to step into what feels expansive, and understand that resistance will arise, and then you get the opportunity to go through and clear that resistance so that you can attain that, and then you go again, and then you keep stepping forward again, right? And of course, it's not linear, and it's not one thing at a time. We're doing this in multiple ways at multiple times across all sorts of dimensions and time zones, time envelopes. So yes, thank you for that question though, Ellie. It's a great one. Christine says, we all need pauses in our trauma clearing journey. We cannot work with traumas endlessly. Yeah, well, some people try to, but it just doesn't make sense to. And you know, a lot of people make it their purpose to clear trauma. And this is a big mistake, because whatever you make your purpose, the universe will keep delivering to you. Purpose is very important. And if you find it purposeful to clear trauma, then you will keep finding trauma to clear. And you will find yourself in an endless loop of clearing trauma because you've made it your purpose to do so. Just like the activists who finds it their purpose to fight big corporation will always find a big corporation to fight. They will spend their life fighting big corporation because they think that is their purpose. But are they really enjoying themselves? And are they really achieving anything? Right? But they've made it their purpose. So if that's your purpose, your perspective will always find that purpose in what you're looking at. So we don't want to make it our purpose to clear trauma. We don't want to make it our purpose to heal our body, right? That is, again, another very, very common mistake. People make it their purpose. They find a lot of purpose in fighting cancer, for example. Whatever you focus on, you feed. If you're fighting something, you're feeding it. So don't make it your purpose to overcome a health issue or overcome trauma. Make it your purpose to live your most expansive life, your most joyful life. And then, of course, you will have to clear trauma from time to time. You'll have to overcome health crises from time to time. You'll have to stand up as an activist from time to time as part of you achieving your purpose. But don't make those clearing things, don't make those fights the purpose itself, or you'll get locked in a loop of just doing that over and over and over again, right? So lift your purpose to being a more expansive expression of self, and then allow yourself to go through the process of clearing when it's appropriate, healing when it's appropriate, fighting when it's appropriate, right? So yeah, you like that, Jen? It's a good one to remember, right? What you fight, you feed. What you focus on, you feed. What you focus on will always grow stronger in your life. And if you focus on what you're fighting, which is obvious, because if you're in a fight with something, then you're focused on it because you don't want it to hit you. You want to hit it first, right? Or at least defend yourself against it hitting you, right? So when you get into a fight with anything, a concept, a person, a situation, it takes your attention. And from there, you are feeding it, and it will stay very strong in your life. So we want to elevate our attention above what we perceive is against us, and then just allow ourselves to grow so that this fight gets very easy, basically, because we get much bigger than what we perceived we needed to fight, in which case we can just sort of push it aside and step on through, right? So our expansion is our greatest help in moving forward. Sister Jill, hi Matt, I received a very indirect message from Spirit today. I think it may have been Blackie organising things already, quite potentially. Blackie's the cat, by the way, for those of you who don't know, who's just passed very recently, old cat of Jill's companion. It was a companion to Jill, not the old cat of a companion of Jill. Anyway, I have been helping a very sick friend not far from me who is in tremendous pain, and last Wednesday she asked me to place her name with any prayer group I know to ask for help and support. I did as requested. One friend I asked lives 2 hours away near Stonehenge, but is still part of a local prayer circle in Reading. She reached out to them with my friend's name. Today she received a tingly message from a friend in the group. My friend's full name had come to this lady in a dream a few days before I asked for help on her behalf. She didn't recognize the name but worked with her anyway. She was very happy now that she can get feedback because the recipient is a real person. Proves to me that we are all joined and time is fluid and amazing. It's very, very true, Jill. It's very, very true. These things do happen and they are not to be taken lightly or flippantly. But at the same time, I think what I was talking about at the start of the call with Joe, if I got that right, was not to want to have such experiences in dream where we get names or this and that. If it's appropriate, we get it. If it's not, it's not, right? And we're all in different stages with things that are appropriate for us. Wanting what we don't have is the surest way to suffering on this planet. I think that's a true statement. It's kind of, the surest way is a little bit, could be argued with. But anyway, so yeah, don't get caught up in wanting to have such information come from spirit, but at the same time, be open that all sorts of synchronicities are happening in our dreams. We do get information all the time. It is very hard for our intellect to always piece it together, and it's not always appropriate that we do need to piece it together. As in that story, the woman got a name, did the work, held space for that name, that person who's behind that name anyway, and then later got confirmation that it's a real person who is asking for help and is in the process of potentially transitioning. And so we hold space for her as well. I think it's a her, but I'm not 100% sure. Yes, she asked to place a name with any prayer group. So yeah, we're holding space for many, many people in this group, people who are in this group and people affiliated with this group. And of course, at Mantara's, focus is more and more on those who have come closer to us, who are in our higher and higher groups. But as a general broad base, this group and associates of this group are held in support by Mantara, which is a very big group of beings. Okay, I do have other questions, I think, down here, so I better scroll down. How am I going for time, Matthew? 9:26. Jen. And Jen's here, so welcome, Jen. I'm sitting with lack of certainty of when to let some relationships go. I used to think relationships naturally come together or dissolve, but some don't seem as clear cut. I tend to try to lean into connection, but I only have so much space for many friendships. I guess it's a choice. There's no right or wrong. Feels strange to think of it in terms of cost versus benefit, or maybe natural versus effortful. Thoughts? Yeah, exactly. There is potential for us to maintain friendships with lots of people, but it all comes down to what feels more natural, what's more appropriate right now, what connections work for you right now. And for me, it's not so much about giving people a label as either friend or not friend, right? I tend not to put people in those sorts of envelopes and see them all just as people. And I'm friendly with them all. Some of them are closer for periods of time and some of them are more distant for periods of time. And I don't feel the need to do the old routine of maintaining friendships by quote unquote doing the right things. Oh, that's my friend, it's their birthday, I should reach out to them. I don't know the birthdays of most of my friends. I know some of my old friends, and sometimes I do reach out to them on their birthday, sometimes I don't. And I don't feel bad about that. I don't feel inconsistent about that. I just follow my heart in the moment. Hey, Sister Mary. So I think what helps is not to get too caught up in having to maintain friendships and what that actually means. Not to get too caught up in the rules of engagement for what has to happen if someone is labeled as a friend, and just see everyone as everyone. And some people we are more friendly with for periods of time, and others we, are more on the outskirts from periods of time. As alignments change, we're all growing, and people grow in and out of alignment as we go on our own twisty journeys of evolution. So I think what helps, Jen, is not to think that you need to maintain a friendship, and that if a friendship falls away or becomes less important in your life, it doesn't mean that it's over forever. It just means that that person is not as relevant to the current moment. And that's fine. And that's fine. We don't need to feel bad about that. A lot of friendship collecting has been around this idea that friends provide safety. The relationships give us safety. That if we maintain a friendship with someone, if we maintain a relationship with someone, if we show up for them when they need us to show up for them, then they will reciprocate and show up for us when we need help. And so we like this idea of having reciprocal relationships with people where they will show up for us if we need, because we show up for them if they need. I think that old school sort of contractual agreement around friendship is falling away, and now we just trust people to follow their hearts. This is what's happening, where we're moving to. We're moving into a space where we just trust people to follow their hearts in the moment, and we don't have to rely on building up a reserve of friends that will show up for us, but we just trust that people, whether we have a relationship or not, will show up for us. Thank you, calendar, telling me my next call. Will show up for us in the appropriate moment when we desire or could use their help. And similarly, we can show up for anyone who we come across, whether we have a relationship with them or not, whether we have got them in the friend label or not, based on what we feel in our heart is most appropriate. So we don't need to get too caught up in this idea of intellectually, sorry, just sorting out these calendar alerts. We don't need to get too caught up in intellectually managing these groups of people that we call friends or colleagues or clients, or this idea that clients should be separate to friends and friends should be separate to relatives, and they all have different rules of how we engage with them and what we should do and shouldn't do, and it's just a mind F. We don't. All you really need to do is maintain your intention to be a heart-centered person in the moment, and allow yourself to follow that into any actions that feel appropriate. And don't to get too caught up in, oh my God, I missed my friend's birthday, or oh my God, I wasn't there for my friend, or they weren't there for me. Why did they say? You don't know what's going on in their conscious mind. So don't get too caught up in the fairness of friendship and in the score sheet of friendships and all of that. So don't, if you're uncertain when to let a relationship go, then probably you just need to let it slide to the side, right? It's not about, I would encourage you never to push to maintain a relationship out of obligation or thinking that it's appropriate to. If you feel drawn, if you feel guided to reach out to someone, even though they're not really reciprocating, then go with that, right? Because they might be having a really hard time for whatever reason, and you might not have uncovered what's going on for them yet, but you feel drawn to keep reaching out to them even though they're not responding so well, and it doesn't seem like they're interested in maintaining a friendship. But if you really feel drawn to it from your heart, not from an egoic fear of, oh my God, I'm losing a friend that I've had for 16 years or 2 years or whatever, lifetime, doesn't matter, but just follow your heart into action and be willing to enter into good, honest, open communication with anyone in your life around, you're getting guided to reach out to them, and what's all that about. Or not, or you're feeling that you can't be bothered and they keep reaching out to you and you really can't be bothered answering them. So just be open with that, be honest with that. Don't think that you need to end the friendship. You just need to be open with, I'm really not feeling the need or the desire to go too deep around what you are reaching out with, or whatever the topic is, or whatever the alignment is, or whatever the narrative is around why they're wanting to reach out. If you're not feeling it, then you're not feeling it. And at the same time, don't be hard-assed around that. We all have to make a level of compromise with things that are important to us, but just recognize how important it is and what's driving that sense of importance around any particular relationship. Because, sometimes we're just having bad days on either side of the equation, and that doesn't mean we need to poison the well just because we spilt our cup. I don't know where that analogy came from, but you get the idea. You don't need to end things just because they're having a bad day or you're having a bad day. Okay, Jill wrote, I'll read it down here because I'm just hopeless at reading off my screen. Awesome, Jen. I'm glad that's helpful. Jill wrote, my friend's name is Angela Morris. I don't get the dreams right now because I'm hardly sleeping. Heaps of processing and releasing and grief and finding it hard to stay in positive intention. Big loneliness hitting at the moment. Yeah, that big loneliness is very, very common, Jill, because that's what we're releasing. We're releasing a lot of separation energy right now. We're releasing a lot of division energy. Hey, Sister Luna. So, there's a huge dissolution right now of what has kept us separate in the world, and a lot of us are feeling that separateness, and it's painful. So just be in allowance for what you are feeling is what you are releasing. We are holding Angela in our hearts for her best good to arise and unfold. The other thing, my friends, is it is new moon in 7 hours. New moon in Capricorn. We are going to be doing a call. I know that's not a very social time for many of you. The Americas, it'll be getting kind of late. UK and Europe, it'll be kind of early. Australia is very happy unless they're at work. So it'll be happening 4:30 p.m. my time here in New Zealand. That's whatever. I've written down what times it is everywhere else. 9:30 p.m. in Central American time, I think. 4:30, 5 hours. 9:30 p.m., 10:30 p.m. Eastern time. And over there in Europe, 4:30 my time is like 3:30 UK time, AM, and 4:30 Central European time, AM. Not very social. But anyway, so it's good that you're happy anyway. Oh, that's Jane. Awesome, Jane. I'm glad you're happy anyway. I can't remember. Because we're releasing all of this stuff. I'm not sure. Anyway, so that call will be on, but I'll give you the guts of it right now, is that it's time. This new moon is a new beginning, and thus we're going through a lot of old endings in the lead up to the new moon. So be an allowance of what's coming up to end, because we're really moving into a new way of dealing with structure. Letting a lot of the old structures, the old controlling mechanisms, those old structures of right and wrong, rule-based structure to fall away, so that we can step into more creative structure, more heart-based structure, more collaborative structure, more fluid structure. And I know fluid and structure don't always go together, but they can. Right? We don't have to view structure as being so rigid. All structure is a form of support, right? A form of a framework. Frameworks don't necessarily need to be hard and rigid. They can be soft and fluid as long as they provide the service, which is to give us a frame of reference for doing this world in an effective way, in a functional way. So that's what we're developing now, because we don't work well. Humans don't work well without any form of structure. We get very airy-fairy, loosey-goosey, out to lunch, not achieving anything in terms of being purposeful on the planet. So we need a form of structure, but that structure doesn't need to be nearly so rigid and so rule-based, and rights and wrongs and goods and bads and this and that and linearity, this, then this, then this, then this, obvious steps of progression. We're moving past all of that. So all of that is ending right now, and it's leaving us feeling very lonely, very empty, some of us very scared, unsupported is another big energy that's up right now. A lot of people are feeling very unsupported right now because we're looking out there to our society and we realize this society couldn't support shit right now. They certainly can't support me and my desires right now. So we're feeling what we once sort of held some bastion of hope that would support us, our government support systems, our medical systems, our judicial systems, our education systems. I've probably missed a few, but those systems now are looking very, very shaky. Our financial system, right, where we've got our money, our retirement funds and all the rest of it, looking very, very shaky right now, very, very, unknown. And so there's a lot of fear around that, which is okay, it's appropriate, because we're releasing all of these structures. It doesn't mean those structures are necessarily going to disappear. It doesn't mean our financial system is going to dissolve overnight. But what is happening is there is a huge transformation occurring. And so this Capricorn new moon is an awesome opportunity for us personally to really embrace in the intention to allow new structures to form within us, to replace the old structures that are crumbling away, that are much more creative in their heart intent. So that's what we're doing. And if you can't make it live, of course, just relax and show up and listen to the replay. It will be there for you. And the link is either above or below this in the feed on the Bright Light Beings. And I've also sent out emails. If you're not on my email list, I'd encourage you to get on my email list. There's a lot of conjecture around what Facebook might be doing in the near future, near to medium future, as in disappearing, going away, getting shut down. There's a lot of conjecture. I had a lot of emails over the weekend about people worried that the internet was going to get shut down on Sunday night or Monday here in New Zealand. That didn't happen, of course. As I basically pointed out, I don't think that's going to happen, but there's a lot of people, spiritual people too, or I won't say pseudo-spiritual because that's a terrible thing to say. There's a lot of people who work in the spiritual community saying there's this big shutdown coming and, don't worry, all of the, and I agree, don't worry, but, there's this whole potential out there that things are going to get shut down, so the good guys are going to come in and save us and wipe away all the bad guys. I don't think that's going to happen personally. I don't think we are on this planet to be saved by a bunch of light beings from all the bad guys. I think we are those light beings who are going to save the planet from the bad guys, and we're not going to do it with a fight. We're just going to do it by rising up and expanding out so that the bad guys have no more influence. I'd be happily wrong if it all does go down. If the internet does get shut down, don't panic. Then maybe this is happening and the beings of light, the extraterrestrials and Trump's light workers or whatever the fuck, are coming in and arresting all of the baddies and wiping all the pedophilia off and getting rid of the Illuminati and all the rest of it. Not holding my breath personally. Would be happily wrong, but not holding my breath. So for me, because a lot of these stories are very disempowering. A lot of people are saying, well, just hold tight. The beings of light are coming to save us. I've been listening to those narratives now since 2012, David Wilcox and the like, and I'm not poo-pooing him, but really, keep saying that this is going to happen, that these extraterrestrials are coming in to save us at some point. And everyone's just basically sitting on their hands waiting for that to happen. And it's just like, fuck, get on with it, right? We're here to expand our light. Don't just keep sitting back thinking that one day it's going to be easy to expand our light. It's never going to be easy to expand your light. That's the purpose of this. It's a mastery school here on Earth, and it doesn't need to be lesson after lesson after lesson, but it does mean that you need to own your process and step up and work through your resistance right now. Hold your dreams big and large and make steps towards them, right? Make steps towards it, because if you're thinking it's going to get easier in the future after we've been saved by some messiah-like figure or some friggin' other collective of light beings coming on and clearing away the baddies, I think you're going to be waiting for a long time, and you're basically wasting your life away waiting for it to get easy to take your steps. You need to be willing to take your steps now, my friends. So that's my 2 cents worth on it. As I said, I will be happily wrong. If it all does get shut down, please don't panic. Don't think that anything bad is happening. But at the same time, don't be sitting around waiting, and don't be too fearful. Take precautions of all, for sure. I have enough food to cope if everything goes down and you can't buy anything. I have enough food to cope for a month probably in my house for my family. I have water as well in case all of that goes down. It's just makes it easy to relax knowing that you've taken precautions and prepared, because at the end of the day, that food's going to get eaten anyway. So it's not a big deal. It's not like I'm spending money on something that's going to get wasted. Yes, exactly, Ellie. I am the one who can save me. So yeah, take precautions, but at the same time, don't be too caught up in it all. So many people are so caught up in the QAnon thing and this and trying to decipher it all and trying to understand it. And people are handing out information willy-nilly. This is happening. The Pope's been arrested. Da, 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 da. I don't know if that's happening or not. And at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter because it doesn't really affect me. I'm dealing with the energies that I'm dealing with right now here in my experience, and that's all that matters, right? What's happening on the other side of the world is affecting me, but if I'm not aware of it, I don't really need to get caught up in the mental pursuit that all of this stuff's happening, that pedophilia is getting wiped off the planet and all the rest of it. Pedophilia is a real problem. I'm not poo-pooing this idea that pedophilia and child trafficking and sexual slavery and all sorts of slavery is a very real problem on this planet, and it is something that is going to have to be addressed and is being addressed right now. But our happiness is not reliant on that stuff happening. Yeah, it's going to be easier and easier and easier to be happy once we get further and further ahead of the game in terms of how the dark influence is playing out on the planet. But don't lose your peace wanting this stuff to happen, thinking that once it happens, then the world will be a better place to be happy in. You have to start choosing to be happy now, because just as we started talking at the start, I think it was Ellie's question around, how do I find the trauma that I need to release? You don't. You just keep choosing to be the most expansive expression of yourself, and the trauma that needs to be released will come to the surface to be released. It's the same globally. It's the same societal wise. We don't need to go looking for what we need to fix in order for society to be better. We need to choose as individuals for society to be better, and we need to start operating as if society is getting better. And as we do that, whatever needs to clear will come up to be cleared, and we will deal with that when it's appropriate and right in our face as an individual, and as groups, as collectives. But at the moment, there is so much information out there, none of us can tell what's right and what's wrong. What's right and what's wrong. What's factual and what's not, right? There's a lot of information from a lot of different perspectives, and much of it is manipulated. Most of it is manipulated in some way, in either direction. So mainstream media, social media, it's everything with a grain of salt, please, because if you get caught up in these narratives, you can really put yourself into a spin, and you're not really doing the best as a being of light, being purposeful on the planet, if you get too caught up in the narratives. Whew, didn't see that coming, but anyway, so new moon in 7 hours time, a great time to be releasing what doesn't serve you so you can step into a new beginning. First new moon of the year. We're working this month in the Mantara Transformation Empowerment Support Community, which is about to become the Transformation Nest, Nurture, Empower, Support and Transmute. Thank you, Sylvie. We're working with the topic of creativity. And the next, interestingly, the full moon, which I didn't know when we dreamt up the idea of creativity, the next full moon that's happening in Leo is an awesome opportunity for embracing more creativity. And this Capricorn new moon is an awesome opportunity to creatively play with structure so that we can create more structures creatively, and we can also put some structure behind our creativity so that creativity influences our structure and structure influences our creativity. So that's what we're moving into. I probably missed some of this stuff. Sylvie wrote, well, they being off-site spiritual beings, ETs or whatever, they are empowering ourselves until they're not empowering us, because the only person who can ever empower us is ourselves, Sylvie. That's the idea of empowering. They're giving us the opportunity to work to empower ourselves. They can't empower us. I can't empower you. I can't empower anyone. Empowerment is a personal journey. But anyway, I get what you mean. So they're giving us the opportunity to empower ourselves until we manage to make peace on earth, my point of view. Then we'll see for our outer partnerships. Yeah, sure. And the only way that we're going to create peace on earth is when we create peace in ourselves. And that's a choice, and it's an ongoing choice. So for all of us, we need to find peace in ourselves first and foremost, to stop fighting, right? To stop fighting with the inner conflicts, because the inner conflicts is just really what's reflecting back to us. And then we think we have enemies in the external world. We have no enemies in the external world. All of the perceived enemies in the external world is basically just a reflection of our internal divisions. And when we really relax through the process of healing our internal divisions and allowing unity to arise and radiate out from within us, then we see that there are no enemies in the external world. There are people doing things that we don't agree with, but they're no longer our enemy, and we basically just override them with our light. We don't need to fight them, we don't need to defeat them, we don't need to wipe them off the face of the earth, because they become irrelevant. They become irrelevant. Anyway, I better get off this. Because it's, yeah, I've gone for 45 minutes. Much love, my friends. I will speak to you again soon. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please just reach out. If you want to work more deeply with me, just reach out. If you want to join the Nest community, the empowerment support community, then just reach out. There's links and stuff, and if you can't find them, just send me an email. I'm not that guy who's too busy to answer emails. So if you want to work with us, then jump in. And I'm very happy for you to stay in this community as well. And I will do my best to support you as best we can. It seems that we're doing 2 free calls this month again. I'm not promising that it'll always be a new moon call and a full moon call. Again, I resisted like merry hell that I really didn't want to do a new moon call. But then I had my arm twisted, just like I had my arm twisted last full moon, to doing a public free call. What did Ellie just want to say? I'm the one who can save me. I just wanted to say this. Very good explanation. Awesome. I think we're doing okay with the comments. Apologies if I have missed a comment. That does happen. But yeah, if you're looking for help and you feel that I could help you, just reach out. Don't get too caught up in Matt doesn't have time, Matt's too expensive, Matt's this or that. It's probably not the truth. Just reach out and I will do my best to serve you. All that is my greatest joy on this planet, to serve without sacrificing myself. Much love. Speak to you again soon. Bye for now. Namaste. End button. Finish button.